Good afternoon. It's being reported now that coal miners have to use trucks rather than railways to get their coals to the ports. 400 trucks on the road every day. What's the impact? It must be huge.
Thanks, Stephen. It's a costly exercise, but at the same time, it's time-consuming. And to talk more on this issue is a mining analyst that is on the line joining us virtually. That is Peter Major. Peter, thank you so much for your time. And the biggest concern here in South Africa is that we rely on coal for energy supply, and this issue with the rail ports is not helping. And having our trucks on the road with this product is an economic nightmare.
Boy, it's a disaster from every way you look at it. Financially, economically, environmentally, and safety and health. These trucks, these coal mining trucks, probably kill more people in a month on the road than all of our mines kill in a whole year. And this has been going on for decades now. And it's insane because nobody tries transporting coal by truck. You build things called conveyor belts and railroads. And that's how all of our coal-fired power plants were designed and built, with coal mines right next to them. And then for exporting coal, that we really only started doing in the 70s, we built a magnificent railroad and magnificent port facilities. And yet this has been systematically overlooked, attacked, destroyed, neglected for literally 20, 25 years. And it started out using trucks to transport coal because the government misguidedly thought that was creating jobs. But it's not creating the real jobs that we need, and it was destroying the existing jobs. So instead of tearing down the railroads and conveyor belts and letting the train system, Transnet, go to pot, we should have even improved on that. Now we're in a real difficult position. Now we're not transporting coal by trucks trying to create jobs. It's an emergency. We can't get it out on the trains. And it's an environmental disaster, and it's expensive. All that diesel you're burning to transport coal that's already the dirtiest fuel known to man, and you're endangering the lives, and you're destroying tens of billions of dollars worth of highways as well.
Peter, let's also talk about the practicality of this issue then being redirected to the consumer, which is the end user then.
Well, certainly it adds to the cost of electricity immensely. And it's been adding to the cost of electricity in this country for decades. But we've just turned a blind eye. And these plants, South Africa was built on cheap electricity. We had the most efficient electrical plants in the world. We used a low-grade, yes, it was dirty. It was a low-grade dirty coal that was not economic to transport almost anywhere other than directly to a mine versus a short railroad or a conveyor. And that gave us cheap, reliable electricity. And so we've tended to ignore what we had, and we went out of our way to destroy it and to try and create something that's an abomination. And now we've really got an abomination, and everybody's paying for it.
At this rate, ESG, in terms of targets to be met by South Africa and getting to an agenda that at least reduces the usage of coal in energy generation, that's setting us back, isn't it?
It's setting us way back. And, instead of building these giant new coal plants, we could have retrofitted and cleaned up the existing ones and got them running long enough, clean enough to allow us to do a proper energy transition to either nuclear or more solar, more wind, and even other alternatives. But yeah, we've just misused the resources and the opportunities that most countries would go to war for. And we had it handed to us, and we've misused it so terribly.
What are the issues then? Are they political? At the same time, are we talking about mining companies not coming to the party? Because we do know some entities are already starting to have those conversations and put in money into that ESG focus.
That's the most tragic part of all, is these were political decisions. These were unreasonable, irrational, inexperienced political decisions that put us on this path. And because those decisions have been in place and the policies that followed have been in place for nearly 2 decades, it's not going to be reversed very easily. And we always say, oh, we can't do this because it's politically incorrect. You know what? Politics should follow economics. And politics should definitely follow safety, health, and these ESG principles. And we were headed in that direction, and we just abandoned it for short-term political game and populist policies.
What happens now? Because we do have an issue with Eskom as well as their coal generation capacity. What do we do? Because we are not only obliterating South Africa's roads, but we are not growing economically due to the model and the systems that we have.
This sounds trite, but we have to go back to basics. We have to go back to doing what is best for South Africa. We have to go back to doing what is best for the 63 million people living in South Africa. And what is best for them? It's cheap electricity. It's safely generated, cleaner electricity. And it's a lot cleaner sending coal to a power plant through a conveyor belt than it is by truck. And creating the right kind of jobs, not inventing dirty jobs for short-term gain like all these trucking jobs that didn't even exist 20 years ago.
Lastly, Peter, there's much to be said about South Africa's railroad system that has been in a state of dilapidation for a number of years and currently obliterated. Are we in any position likely to bounce back?
No, you can't bounce back from the catastrophe that we have created. We've created this catastrophe and we've implemented it over decades. We can't bounce back. We can crawl our way out, and we can direct our focus and all of our policies and legislation to doing what's right if there's the will, and it's got to start from the top down. But we intentionally were destroying Transnet the last 20 years. Just look at the appointments we made. They were all political. They were all crony. And we have to reverse these policies and legislation fast, and we have to have willpower led from the front to do what's right.
Thank you so much for your time and your insights. That is mining analyst Peter Major talking to us about the impact of having about 400 trucks on South Africa's road just transporting coal due to the failed railway system.